When you're at HR Tech, do you have a particular interest in how technology is influencing the human resource space to support the work that you're doing?
I absolutely do. So first and foremost, I care about humanity and the people that are inside of our organizations. And I don't say that in a way that suggests that other people do not care. I just center that in terms of the way that I work. And so when I am in conversation with vendors, founders, executives, and others, I'm really trying to understand, how does your technology support an organization's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging efforts? Does it do such in a way where it allows the organization to better operationalize D&I efforts? Is it more of a bolt-on? Is it a Band-Aid? Was that technology developed as a result of a particular event, or is it embedded in the organization's ethos? So that's the first thing that I'm looking for. Second thing that I'm looking for is, what is the organization's ability to really help a client, once they make that buy-in decision, how do they help that client realize value by bringing this technology into the organization? It's one thing to have a conversation around the bells and the whistles. It's something different to say, we suspect, or we suggest, or anticipate, once you do the implementation, here's what you will see in terms of a return on the investment. And then the third thing that I'm looking for across the floor of HR Tech is, what haven't I asked you? It's a very simple question. What did I fail to ask you that you feel like I need to know as it relates to your technology, your product, your service, how you're situated in the marketplace? Because if I'm going to talk about that technology, if I'm going to recommend that technology, I want to know as much as I can in the very limited amount of time that we have on the floor.
And, you know, I can imagine that there's a lot of tech that's trying to solve some problems that they think workforces have, but each one's going to have something unique.
Absolutely.
And like the value proposition on how the employees are treated, what are the priorities, who are they trying to reach? Do you find that this space is really opening up to try to be more human in ways that are unexpected?
I would say that the fair answer is, I hope so. You know, again, the limited amount of time that I have, I certainly haven't spoken with all of the exhibitors and the vendors that are here, but I do believe that more of them are thinking about, how is it that our technology is impacting the employee life cycle, the employee experience, from the very first time an individual looks at a person's or an organization's webpage to the time that they exit an organization. We got a lot of technology that sits in between that timeline. And so my hope is that more of them are thinking about, this is what we say we do, and this is how it will impact the people that are most important in this equation.
This is kind of a deviation from tech, but something you said made me think of how so many people approach their job hunt because they know a brand. Like they say, like, Puma. Like, I actually met with a woman from Puma that worked in HR Tech last week, and so she's like, yeah, I really recognize the brand. I'm proud to work here. How much in your work do you find that people are attracted to a brand's values because it matches their values?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, again, and I think the other way of looking at that question is, it's reflected in how an organization retains their individual talent. If I can't keep my talent, then the first thing that I need to ask them during the exit interview is, why are you making a decision to leave us? And you might find that it's a lack of recognition. It may be a lack of growth or career opportunity. Could be familial reasons, things that are happening outside of the workplace. But I will tell you and submit that in the 20 years that I've been consulting and supporting organizations, and 27 years of building high-performing teams, it is very high on the list that this organization at some point has deviated from who they say they are, what they say is important, to how they are showing up right now. And given the work that I do in diversity and inclusion, in this political climate, in this social atmosphere, it is a very charged in climate right now. And so navigating these choppy waters and these bumpy roads it's a special art. And not a whole lot of people are doing that art exceptionally well.
You know, I was thinking when people say why they're leaving, they're probably not saying, well, I didn't like the tech here.
No, it's not that.
Even though we think we're talking about how important it is.
It's so funny. It's not that. It's not the tech that they're leaving for. Yes, indeed. It's the people. Indeed.
Yeah, it is the people. And I imagine, I mean, it's kind of a really important topic right now. We've been talking about how, choppy waters, people are having some trouble communicating, I think, these days. And, getting together like this, and you see people from around the world, around the country doing different things. Are you inspired? Do you feel like there's good things going on, that people are working together here, Yeah,
so the first thing that I say, principle over technique. So you have to have principle. You have to be true to who you are when the cameras are off and the lights are dim. Who are you when you are alone? And that very same question is the question that I ask in the organization. When you're sitting in your cubicle, when you are in that conference room and everyone's walked out of the conference room, when you're sitting in that executive office, you are all by yourself. The only people in the building are the janitors, and maybe not even the janitors. Who are you when you are alone? Are you living up and being true to your principles? So yes, it's very, very tough to have some of these conversations right now. But in the words of Elif Shafak, she says that there are no binaries in culture, emotion, or identities. We should never, ever remain silent for fear of complexity. Yes, it's challenging, it's tough, it's choppy, it's bumpy, it's unpredictable, but we should still be chasing greater humanity.
That's beautiful. I was just talking, a woman named Dandy Johnson was just in here, a consultant with Red Thread Research. I don't know if you've checked them out. More on brand, Red.
Absolutely.
And she was talking about, she analyzes tech from all aspects, but skills is kind of the thing that we hit on, because she's been talking about that a lot recently. And we just ended up really just talking about what it's like to be human. We were talking about, is tech putting too much pressure on us to know everything and be everything, I think is what she said. I can't remember her exact phrase, but it was something like, we're under pressure to do everything all the time. And that's a good reminder, we kind of need to go back to what's important to us and how can a tool help us do it. Absolutely. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The tools, all of these beautiful tools, they are a coefficient. That's the way that I see them. They are not to replace us. I don't expect them to replace us. I do see that they can make efficiency, they can help us in efficacy, but we must remain in the equation in as many ways as we possibly can.
And since I've got you here and you talk to so many people, what's kind of the buzz? Where are people, when clients come to you, organizations, where do you feel like everyone's head's at right now? Do you feel like there's a vision for moving forward, or are we still everyone kind of still stressed after the last few years that we've experienced?
Well, again, since I'm a D&I guy, I'm going to answer the question from and through the lens of diversity and inclusion.
I'd love to know it from your perspective.
Absolutely. And so I have a roster of clients that I've supported for on and off, some for a couple of years. I have a handful of clients that are newer clients. I do speaking engagements across the country as well as globally. And I will tell you, the one prevailing theme or question is, can we still do this? And my response to them is, why were you doing it in the first place? And if your response is aligned with the reason why I'm supporting you as a consultant, as a speaker, as an analyst, then we will continue to do this. I know my principles. My hope is that you are doing it and we're doing it for a genuine reason. This is the reason why you've contracted with me, why you've asked me to support or talk to your people. So I believe that the prevailing question is, can we still do this? Given where we are, is it safe for us to do this?
Great point.
Are there legal ramifications if we continue to do this? And I've always said to them, our work was never about placing you in a position where you or your employees were unsafe. Our work was never about making your stakeholders feel excluded in any way. And our work has never been about increasing your legal exposure. We do diversity, strategy, and risk mitigation. So we're not trying to push you in a way that is going to cause damage to the individuals, the stakeholders, shareholders, or the brand.
Yeah, and I write about tech, so of course DEI and B is a big part of the people that I write for. HR leaders, a big part of what they do, but I don't get to ask a lot of questions about this topic. So one of the things that just occurs to me is that now, and I heard somebody say this in one of the sessions yesterday, the headlines are like, oh, some of this is being dialed back or changing, and the point was, it really isn't for brands and companies that want this. It's part of their DNA, right? But maybe now we're at a point where it's being done in a new, thoughtful way. If you were doing this and you're still doing it, maybe there's new changes that are rolling out. Do you think that makes sense?
It does, but the making sense piece, Jill, is it's complex. For some, they are dialing back because they may not have necessarily established their programs or their effort in the right way. Some are dialing back because they had individuals leading or marshaling that charge that did not have the acumen or the experience or the collaborative connective tissue to make it happen. Listen, you don't do D&I individually. It is a collective activity. And there are some people that are just not good about building that connective tissue to move this effort forward.
Yep.
So there are a ton of reasons why some organizations are pulling back. Some of them are frustrating, if I'm very honest.
Yeah.
Some of them are disappointing. Some of them suggest that organizations are being a bit disingenuous, less than humane, if you will. And fact of the matter is, not everyone cares about diversity and inclusion. So as long as I understand that, I kind of know who it is that I need to be working with and who I need to avoid and stop wasting my time.